Wasabi guys! Come back at y'all with another one of my favorite commander cards for this week. We're going to be looking at Authority of the Consuls. No, not those consoles. This Authority of the Consuls. Just a 1 white mana enchantment that sits on the field, and creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. And whenever creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, you get to gain 1 life. So it's very similar to another card called Blind Obedience. However, that card also makes it to where your opponent's artifacts enter the battlefield tapped. You gain no life off of those entering the battlefield. However, it also has Extort, so you could make the argument that Blind Obedience is a little bit better because Extort technically drains your opponents. It doesn't just gain you life. Whereas I honestly feel that Authority of the Consuls is going to give you significantly more life, and earlier in the game, it is just a 1 mana difference between those two cards. I would rather have this turn 1 and make it to where from now on, every single creature that's entering the battlefield of my opponents, I'm going to be gaining a life. So it's going to be a pain for your opponents to get rid of this. It is just a 1 mana enchantment. Is it worth a lot of expensive removal to get rid of enchantments? It might be. So you have to consider the fact that because it puts in that much work, gaining you a ton of life, forcing your opponents to play slower. They're basically going to have to attack you the turn after they play their creatures. And if they have any haste enablers, well, that's pretty much a thing in the past with this card. So they have to get rid of it. It's so powerful for just 1 mana. I don't know if there's too many cards that put in this much work for 1 mana, aside from maybe Deathrite Shaman, maybe Sensei's Divining Top, but those cards you have to put more mana into it in order to make them actually work. Whereas with this, you just have it on the field and it pretty much just lasts however it lasts, and you don't have to invest anything more into it than that 1 white mana, and it stays there on the field. Your opponents have to get rid of it with enchantment removal, which isn't always the easiest removal to come across, so it can become very problematic for your opponents to have to deal with. Now, when it comes to decks that this works out pretty well with, the obvious one is going to be Control. Why? Because Control is all about slowing your opponents down anyway, making it to where the playing field is even, and what better way to do that than to force your opponent's creatures to enter the battlefield tapped. Not only that, but with certain decks such as Oloro, Ageless Ascetic, you are going to be gaining extra life. And that deck has absolutely nothing wrong with gaining more life than the upkeep trigger with Oloro, so you might as well just add a little bit extra to it. Now, the other synergy is quite obvious too, and it is life gain. Now, Oloro is a life gain deck, but also primarily a control deck because of the fact that you also play blue. You're playing Esper, and Esper control is quite strong in the format. But with your typical black-white life gain strategy, Authority of the Consuls is perfect. You are gaining more life over the course of the game. The earlier you get to start it off, the better. You gain not just extra life, but you're also getting life gain triggers, which is very significant, and there is a big difference because there are certain commanders, such as Karlov of the Ghost Council, that focus primarily on life gain triggers, not just gaining life. So if you are gaining life at separate instances, such as during your upkeep, during combat, during your main phase, you get those counters on Karlov. If this is happening on your opponent's turn, you still get those counters. So the fact that Authority of the Consuls is a way to get life gain triggers is very important as well. But aside from that though, a very strong card. For all intents and purposes, it is practically going to be another Blind Obedience in your deck. It is arguably a little bit better and a little bit worse, depending on what you need it for in your deck. If you're all about life gain, it could arguably be better than Blind Obedience. But for me, this card is fantastic, and it's holding its value around $4 or $5 card. It's actually quite surprising when I checked out the prices of Kaladesh, seeing cards that I thought were going to be bulk rares, and this was very much bulk when it first came out, but it's fantastic and it's a perfect card for Commander. So anyway guys, let me know what you think about this card. Let me know what your favorite Commander cards are. I would definitely like to take into consideration what you guys think. I just want to put the best possible cards I can in this series, cards that I honestly like because of their interaction in the format. Maybe there's something special that they do in this format compared to others. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Void here signing off. You all have a wonderful day.